3,
Marvel needs to stop coming up with movies.
2, 1. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another exciting film journey here on Delusions of Grandeur. I am one of your hosts, but today we are going to go on about one of my choices. Since last week we went on about Silence of the Lambs, I figured I'd introduce you guys to the first film adaptation of anything dealing with Thomas Harris, which was film adaptation of his 1981 novel called Red Dragon, which at the time this film was titled Red Dragon, but the studios at the time thought that the film title sounded way too Japanese. Yes, that is
Japanese
exactly.
or Chinese?
Japanese. That's what they said.
That is fucked up because as soon as you say Red Dragon, I don't think Chinese or Japanese. I fucking think medieval fucking red ass dragon.
Sorry, Kroll, what did you say when you hear Red Dragon? You think of what?
Medieval dragons.
Oh,
You know, like Smog and The Hobbit and, you know, big giant fire breathing fucking dragons.
oh,
or like Dungeons and Dragons, you know?
The
well,
Chinese dragons don't look like dragons to me. I know they're called dragons, but they don't. They look like fucking snakes.
well,
with wings.
actually, when I hear of a red dragon, I think of the seven-headed dragon from the Book of Revelation, which this movie was actually supposed to reference. Yet they made a terrible mistake. I must point that out. When there
Oh,
is
and
that,
they changed it and said that it wasn't the Bible that they were referencing.
they show a painting of the dragon and a woman clad in sun, or however that's worded in English. But yeah, that's an image from Revelation 12, and that dragon is supposed to have 7 heads, not one, like on that painting.
I didn't know there was a 7-headed dragon in the Bible.
Yeah.
It's
They refer to it as the number of the beast.
The seven-headed dragon is actually what Satan is described like in the Book of Revelation.
I've never seen any drawings of Satan ever drawn differently than the demon with horns, which they stole from Pan.
Then there is quite a lot of stuff you still have left to see about that.
I guess so, but we're actually live, so we should probably talk about just the movie and start it.
Yes.
Complain about it.
So the film is actually filmed in 1986. It is directed by Michael Mann. The film does not star Anthony Hopkins in the role of Hannibal Lecter. In fact, this version of Lecter is actually spelled differently too.
So if you want to skip it, you can.
No, not necessarily.
Yes.
I suppose you could, but there are a lot of people and a lot of filmmakers who actually find that this film is superior in many ways. But
to Silence of the Lambs?
To Silence of the Lambs and Red Dragon.
I never seen Red Dragon, so I can't say. But Silence of the Lambs, fuck no. Not at all. No way, shape, or form. Not one scene.
Yeah, although I don't generally dislike Brian Cox as an actor, he's got nothing on Anthony Hopkins in that role.
I mean, he did okay. I mean, the second time we saw him was better than the first, but the first was kind of like, I don't like him. I mean, maybe that was because I'm still on the Anthony Hopkins high, but I don't know.
Yeah, I must admit, I also, when I see two or more versions of something, a story or a character or song or whatever, I usually tend to prefer the first one I saw, whether it's the
Well,
original.
I mean, there's times like, I mean, obviously, yeah, I'm gonna go to Star Wars again, but Harrison Ford is Han Solo, right? But he couldn't play a young version of himself. I mean, I guess they could have done CGI and stuff, but yeah. So Eldridge, whatever, I can't think of his name, who played in Solo, I think he did a fantastic job. I mean, when I think Han Solo, I won't think of him. I'll still think Harrison Ford, but I think he did a really awesome job. And the fact is, Harrison Ford just couldn't play a young version of him, of his character. Just couldn't. And I don't think a CGI version would have been all that better either. So I think he did a great job. So yeah, I mean, I agree that the original usually better. But I mean, hell, I mean,
Well,
it's hard to say. Like as far as Obi-Wan Kenobi, I mean, yeah, Sir Anthony. Um,
well,
I almost said fucking Hopkins. Fucking uh, Obi-Wan, original Oben is, Alec Guinness, um, you know, but that doesn't mean the prequels were just fucking awesome. He just fucking stole that role. So I don't know. He might have been better. I mean, it's harder to say because obviously he was in way more of the film and way more action, way younger, and he was in all the films plus the the movies and the TV show whereas Alec Guinness was in just part of Star Wars. Yeah, that's it. He was supposed to be in Empires, but they killed him off instead. They
So
changed the script. But anyways, yeah, let's go on.
IMDb says about this film that former FBI profiler Will Graham returns to service to pursue
Graham?
Will Graham,
It's Graham.
Graham.
I know, it's Graham. Like
So,
graham crackers.
returns to service to pursue a deranged serial killer dubbed the Tooth Fairy by the media.
Yeah, why?
What do you mean?
Why was it called the Tooth Fairy?
That was just a.
I know, but why? It makes no sense. If he took their teeth
no,
and ripped them
because
out, I can see.
he was biting the victims. That's why.
But that still makes no sense. I don't know. I think that was the stupidest thing in the movie. And
But
there was a few things in the movie that were stupid.
yeah, but the Tooth Fairy nickname was it was originally said by someone as just a joke, but then the others started to copy it, and
No, it was said in the newspapers. The newspapers called it the Tooth Fairy.
yeah, but wasn't it first said that someone used it as a joke, and then someone there said, "I don't want to hear it anymore," but
No, that was after. That was
Yeah.
afterwards. That
oh,
it had already been printed that he was called the Tooth Fairy. The
oh,
media called him the Tooth Fairy.
And the film,
Usually the media is better at that stuff, but not in this movie.
well, and the film stars William Peterson in the role of Will Graham, Kim Greist as Molly Graham, Joan Allen as Reba, Brian Cox as Dr. Lecter, and it's spelled Leckeor, not Lector in this one.
ER is otherwise.
Dennis
I
Still
Farina,
the same character.
Crawford, which Dennis Farina is actually a Law and Order alumni. So he's from the original television show of Law and Order. He was one of the detectives that would go out and investigate cases in the beginning. As Freddie Lowndes, Tom Noonan,
You're putting me to sleep. I'm not even tired.
Francis Dollarhide, and so on and so forth. So let's go into first impressions. Let's start with you, Tammy, since we haven't heard from you yet. Um, what was this a first time watch for you?
No, we watched it before.
Oh, she's awake.
Aha. Keep it up, and I won't be.
I thought Dave put you to sleep.
But yeah, I didn't know anything about this until David told me about it. had already gotten into watching um um Hannibal and the Red Dragon and Silence of the Lambs. I didn't know that this one existed until he told me about it.
Like most people.
So it's decent. It's just like, but after you've seen the other ones, it's weird to watch it, and that Anthony Hopkins isn't a part of it. It kind of
Exactly.
seems really different. But yeah, I thought there was a few things that were a little strange, like the the Tooth Fairy thing, just because he bit the victims to call him the Tooth Fairy. I thought was just kind of funny. I mean, you know, it would make more sense like if he took teeth or something like that.
That's what I said.
But that's the way that they set it up. So
I give them a -10 on that one.
but it was it was entertaining. It was interesting. It's just when you've seen the other ones, it kind of, I don't know, isn't quite. Uh, it doesn't pack like the same kind of punch that I guess you might want to say. So, but I didn't mind watching it again, and if I didn't like it at all, I wouldn't own it. So.
Okay, heading over to you, Boris. Was this the first time watch for you?
Yes, it was the first time, and I would say the movie was kind of interesting. Yeah, it's definitely not better than Silence of the Lambs, but then again, I didn't expect anyone else to be better than Anthony Hopkins as Hannibal Lecter. So since I didn't expect better than that, I cannot say I was too disappointed with what I got. Now, one thing I kind of had issues with was that there are scenes when a lot of information is thrown at you at once, and it's kind of difficult to follow what is going on. There were some scenes when I had to rewind and watch again in order to figure out what was happening. Like in that scene when they were talking about some coded messages sent through some ads in newspapers, and they included some biblical references or something like that. That was a part I found very confusing, and there were some moments like that when I had to watch twice in order to figure out what was going on. So if there is one downside to that movie for me, it would be that. And also, maybe if there was one thing that disappointed me, is that at the end I expected there would be some shocking revelation, some plot twist about the killer, but there was nothing. Like they put an end to him at the end, and that was pretty much it. There wasn't really anything unexpected about that subplot. But otherwise, I would still say the movie I was worth watching at least once. So yeah, it's not better than Silence of the Lambs, but if I was to say it's a total piece of shit, that would be an overstatement.
Okay. What about you, Mr. Kroll Lecter? Or Lectour, the French version?
No, the real version. I'm the Anthony Hopkins elector. So yeah, this is the first time watch. I never heard of it, and frankly, if I still haven't heard of it, it'll be fine. Not that I hated the movie, I didn't hate it, but it just wasn't something that I really felt like I could have watched. I mean, and it, it started out pretty much kind of the same. Got to catch a serial killer. Got to go to Hannibal to get his help. Blah blah blah. He wasn't quite as helpful as he was with Clarice, and they did throw in a little bit of interesting thing where he gets his address and ends up giving it to the killer, which I thought was kind of interesting. But other than that, yeah, I mean, we didn't really get much of Lecter at all, and the guy was okay. But I mean, when you got Anthony Hopkins playing the role, and then now he has this other guy, and I know he played it first, but still, it's just,
Yeah,
that's the way
well,
I watched it. But even if I hadn't watched it that way, it's Anthony fucking Hopkins. He would have hands down taken over the spot, you know.
Well, if
So
you know anything about Brian Cox, he actually played the guy who evidently invented Wolverine from X-Men.
he also
yeah,
played in
Anthony
the
Hopkins
ring.
played C.S. Lewis.
My first thought when I see Brian Cox is Richard Morgan from The Ring.
Who is he?
Richard Morgan from the movie The Ring.
Oh, the American adaptation of it.
Oh,
Yes, yes.
I thought you said Lord
Okay.
of the Rings.
I also remember him recently.
When
Sorry,
I first saw him, I thought he's not Anthony Hopkins, and I had no idea who he was.
sorry, Kroll, what did you say? Who you thought it was when I said Richard Morgan?
Although
No,
as
I
young
thought
as he
you
is,
said Lord of the Rings.
No.
See, when I hear Ring, I think Lord of the Rings. When you hear Ring, you think of those weird movies.
as young as Brian Cox looks in here, he reminds me of Vinnie Jones a little bit. As
Okay,
young
so
as he is.
anyways, yeah, this is the first time watching, and like I said, I didn't hate it, but at first it was like, wow, the music is kind of weird, but then it got better. But when they played Inagata and a few songs after that, but yeah, there's a couple songs in that was kind of weird. So it wasn't your typical 80s as far as the music goes at first, but it got better. So it definitely was kind of like any movies there. As far as production, you could definitely tell it was an 80s movie, 100%. And you definitely could tell it was cheaply made. Not quite B quality, but close, especially with some scenes. Some scenes were like really, really, really bad camera shots. Like the grass scene when they were looking at the grass. And near the end,
Like the inside of the psych ward, like when Peterson is
that was
or
all right, but
Graham actually ran from Lecter. That part looked cool of it, but the actual prison cell, I expected more the first time.
I got what I expected because they always. I was actually shocked in Silence of the Lambs when they actually had like a real prison cell. Prison cells are not bars like they always say and show in movies. They're glass. They're like the special plastic glass thing. I don't know exactly what it's made out of, but that's what it really is. And there's like bars inside the plastic thing. So in Silence of the Lambs, they were real closer to what real prison cells look like. This one, it was just like every other movie, not realistic. But yeah, they so I wasn't expecting that. But the cars definitely looked 80s. It was just definitely the whole thing. The acting was alright.
Also, the reporter who was after his Graham's ass. He looks very young in here, but if you remember him from a show called Terra Nova,
I love
and
that show.
also after that he was in
I don't
Avatar as
I don't
the
remember
military
him in Terra Nova.
in the movies Don't Breathe 1 and 2.
Never saw those.
Those are pretty cool.
Terra Nova was awesome.
But yeah, he he does not have any white hair here. But yeah. Anyways, is that pretty much your first impressions then?
Yeah, sorry it's not better, but it's just how I feel about the movie. I mean, it wasn't like I didn't hate it, and I didn't feel like it was a waste of time. I'm just saying, if I didn't see it, I would have been like, oh my god, I missed something. Now that I have seen it, it's just like I don't think it told anything that great of a story. It was okay. And I don't think the acting was all that great with from anybody. So, unlike the Silence of the Lambs. So,
Well,
maybe
I
if I
guess
saw this, at like a different time or before Silence of the Lambs, my opinion might be a little better. But unfortunately, I saw it a week later, and I have to compare it to Silence of the Lambs, and it doesn't even come close. So, yeah, that's my opinion.
Okay. Well, I was introduced to this before I saw Silence of the Lambs. I guess I'm the only one here that knew about it before
Yes, you are.
everybody else. And I think when we actually covered it on Inside Movies Galore, I believe that was kind of the same thought process that
Before
no
my
one else
time.
had actually seen it before. So I'm glad that I introduced it to them.
So you introduced it to them too, and you
Yeah.
interjected it to them too.
Yeah. Well, Brandon and Jake had at least heard of it, but they'd never watched it before.
Ah,
I forget exactly who else was on
that's
it.
surprising that they've heard of it.
But that being said, at the time, I thought that Tom Noonan was a relatively creepy guy. I mean, from what I get,
Is that the one that played the Tooth Fairy?
yeah, that's the guy who plays the Tooth Fairy.
He was okay. He was okay. The Bill in Silence of the Lambs was better, but he was okay. But I don't know what the fuck is on his head. That was weird as fuck. When you first saw him,
Yeah, that was
just super fucking weird.
it was super weird. And
He did okay. He probably did the best acting in the movie.
which is
Not
what
that it
people
was
remember
great,
him
but
for. And I think the whole reason why the Inagata Devita song is in there is why I completely, every time I watch the Silence of the Lambs, get confused, like with the music that Buffalo Bill plays while he's dancing with this. Like if they had played Inagata Devita instead of what they played, I think it would have been a hell of a lot creepier. But that being said, it's like if I took elements of this movie and mixed it with Silence of the Lambs, it would be like overly creepy here. But I appreciate this movie because it was the first thing that they had done about it, and unfortunately, because the studios decided to be racist about the title, it didn't get like the extreme. What is it? I think the way they marketed it.
red is usually for Indians, like the Native
Well,
Americans, not
just
for
to
Chinese.
completely
It has
disregard
nothing to
the
do with
title.
racism.
Dave, maybe you meant nationalist rather than racist.
I totally think it was a racist move.
There would have been Yellow Dragon then. They call Chinese people yellow people, which is racist.
But to distinctly
Had
to
nothing
refuse
to
it
do with
because it
red.
sounds
You're barking up the wrong tree.
because it sounds too Japanese. That's to me a racist move. So
But don't you mean nationalist rather than racist?
That's what I'm saying, dude. But
I still think race was involved in the decision making, at least as far as that goes. But that is neither here nor there. That being said,
and
I
red's the best color.
do
The
like
dragons
William
are awesome.
Peterson as an actor. I remember him from CSI, the first.
And who did he play?
Tammy, you remember his name on there?
Who did he play?
Oh,
Grisham.
he played Grisham on
Grissom.
CSI. Grisham, but he plays
No, in this movie, who did he play?
Graham.
Okay, I don't know his name, so I'm asking. I don't know
But
these actors. Like I said, I don't watch those fucking CSI Law and Order bullshit shows. I like
Tammy,
Rick.
do you think that Law and Order and CSI are bullshit shows?
Of course she doesn't. She's a woman.
But in any case, I enjoyed it for what it is. I mean, you get the. I mean, the film goes about as if Will Graham had already captured a Hannibal Lecter, and you're already supposed to like know that he's the guy who caught Hannibal, and he's being asked to just go and see this crime scene. And technically, he's told if he wants to get out at that given point in time after he sees this, he can just back out whenever he wants to, you know. But
You're right.
he gets involved in it, and
He gets in deep.
In the mind of the serial killer. In fact, there is a theme that goes throughout this whole film, that you almost have to become a serial killer in order to catch one.
Yeah, that's.
That was definitely the one thing that was like the Silence of the Lambs, because he said to him that you're like me, and he had said that to Clarice too, that she was like him.
Yep. So, so this is pretty much the plot. So there is a serial killer going around and killing people, but killing them in a way where he's gouging out their eyes and biting them. And because he was biting them, he started to get the name serial killer of the Tooth Fairy, the nickname. And it's obvious he does not like this nickname. In fact, one of the things that he ends up doing is he actually sends a letter of correspondence to Hannibal Lecter during and while Graham actually goes and speaks to Hannibal Lecter, I guess, for the first time in like years. And he basically is a very avid admirer of his. And of course, Lecter calls him a shy boy. And I know he wants to have Graham give him the file right away. But before this, this correspondence between Hannibal Lecter and Will Graham happened, I believe Will Graham actually goes to the scene of the crime, and he watches, I guess, these videotapes that are of the family.
Yeah, he figures out that he opened the girl's eyes to so she could see him.
Oh yeah,
Without his gloves on.
those videotapes were another part that confused me. Like, who was recording those families' daily lives and for what purpose?
Well, in
He
this
was.
movie, it turns out that these videotapes were actually made at a specific company, videotape company.
They weren't tapes either. They were movie reels.
Correct, but
Okay,
there was a
okay,
label on the back of the VHS tape that they were able to trace back to it later.
okay, but who was filming them and why?
Well,
He was the murderer
yeah, the
Oh,
murderer, the
because
tooth
he
fairy.
wanted to see. He wanted to taste what they were like in their daily life before he killed them.
Correct,
oh,
and he actually worked for a video processing company as well. That was his job, to take all these tapes to all these like distributors, and he had access to all of the videotapes at this company. You know, so that was one. And the lady that worked in the splicing department was blind, and that was who that lady was.
She was good looking.
Yeah, she was in this movie.
I felt bad for her the most. I mean, I'm glad she got away, but still. Horrible.
But yeah, so I do believe that Will is estranged from his wife for some time period. Like in the very beginning, you can see that he actually has like a house by the beach, and he's setting up some kind of uh, fencing on the beach for a particular creature of some sort, which we find out later are turtles, which
what?
I think is kind of cool.
Wasn't it actually said right away that it was turtles, or maybe I misremembered?
I don't think it was said right away that they were turtles, but him and his son were talking about what was going, what he was trying to do with them, and they didn't exactly mention what animal per se, but there is a moment that I like, which I'll bring up later, between him and his son, because there's a moment where he basically tells Jack, okay, he's done. He's just going to go home. I've done what I needed to do. I'm going to go home, you know. And there's this conversation that he has with his son in the supermarket, where he actually tells him, kind of
That's
like
much later in the film, though.
that. Correct, but that is a moment that I think eventually we do need to bring up.
Just saying, it's much later in the film.
But so let's go back back a little bit. We are at the moment where he actually tells Jack Crawford that he's got to go and actually talk to Lecter, and so he does.
He doesn't tell his wife. He does tell her where he's going, just not where. He tells her what state he's going to, just not who he's going to see.
Correct.
Because he knows that she would not be happy.
No, definitely not. So he does, and he Lecter wants to have anything to do with the files so that he can actually give him his thought process assess on it. And in this particular film, he does sit and wait for what Lecter has to say, and it's actually not much, because I guess he needs more to go on or whatnot. But we also don't know that Lecter is actually in correspondence with our killer. So at least not at that moment. It's not until
Yeah, he definitely doesn't feel like the same Hannibal Lecter either. I mean, in certain areas a little bit, yeah.
no. Right now he's just a man with a Brooklyn accent, you know.
In the intelligent part, but as far as it definitely didn't sound like a Brooklyn accent at all. He sounded intelligent. I said, but yeah, the fact that he was like helping the murderer and stuff, I don't know, just doesn't feel like the same character at all.
Okay.
I mean, he was a murderer, but he like in like Silence of the Lambs, he didn't like help other ones. He helped Clarice, and you know, he may possibly admire what other people do, or think it's probably interesting at least because of of his studies. But as far as helping them and then giving the address too, like he told Clarice he liked Clarice. He wouldn't even think about going after her or anything. And this one was like he said he liked him, but then he gives the home address and stuff. Just I don't know. Like I said, he didn't seem like the same Hannibal Lecter at all. And I know this movie came out first, but I just didn't like their adaptation of the character. It didn't seem like the adaptation that I know of, and I just didn't like it. So that was another issue.
Okay. Well, this was the first adaptation that I had seen of Hannibal Lecter, so I guess I was kind of meh about the character at the time. I wasn't sure what to think at the time, and I had it on VHS, and it was relatively kind of blurry at the time. So when I actually rewatched it after I saw The Silence of the Lambs, then I was like, okay, I do like Anthony Hopkins better. I'm not saying that I'm not saying that this film is better than Silence of the Lambs myself. I do know that there are people in the film community that believe that Manhunter is a far superior film than the rest of them.
People are entitled to their wrong opinions.
Correct. I agree. And I do think there are aspects of this film that actually feel a little bit creepy.
Bite your tongue.
But I like the atmosphere of the three after this one better. Though I do think that this film was strong at the time, stronger than they thought at the time.
No, I originally thought this movie was going to be about Hannibal Lecter, like he was the murderer, like his murders.
But that being said, shortly after this meeting is when we actually do have the interactions between, and let me get the name of that actor real quick that played the reporter, because the reporter,
all these smart people are supervillains and psychopaths. They start to give intelligent people a bad name.
trying to think of the name of the reporter. The reporter himself, Yeah,
He
was
wasn't
Stephen
even
Lang.
that. He wasn't even that annoying. You know, it was just. It just. Like I said,
He
just
was a
not a big fan
little
of
bit
him.
more annoying than I think, and I have seen Red Dragon. I've seen it somewhat recently too. I know you guys have not. I don't want to say too much about that film, but I do want to say that I do like the reporter better here than I do in the Red
He
Dragon.
was that bad.
Um, Number one, the reporter in the Red Dragon movie, he didn't do all of his reporting and camera work himself. He actually had someone doing his camera work for him.
That's better.
No,
Yes.
I actually thought that a reporter that can do everything in his own damn self on his own damn steam is a hell of a better reporter.
I
You know,
disagree. I think a reporter that can do that is a shitty reporter because he can't afford to hire anybody.
I think if the reporter can do anything and everything his own damn self and be very good at his job, that's a good reporter. If he's
Okay.
got to rely on a photographer to do his dirty work, I suppose.
That's what a photographer does. Reporter doesn't take pictures. A reporter reports.
Yeah, but I also think that a reporter can do both.
So you
Is a
think
very
Lois
good
Lane
person.
sucks? So you think Lois Lane sucks? Because she brought around Jimmy Olsen to take the pictures? And Clark Kent?
I get it. I get it that there are people who actually have that happen. So
Only good reporters have photographers. These slimeball reporters like this guy has to do his own pictures because he can't afford to hire a photographer, and even if he could, he would not be able to find one that was as sleazy as him.
which makes him a little bit more sleazeball looking.
I definitely agree with that.
Which is what I feel is needed for this role, whereas it wasn't as greasy looking.
I don't think he was. I don't think he was all that greasy looking though. Even though he was taking the pictures, and he like gotcha. I don't know. It was just. I guess the acting just sucked. I don't know. He just didn't really. He wasn't that annoying. Like, you know, if he was really annoying when he got kidnapped, which I completely called that. I knew that was going to
From what I
happen.
understand,
I would have been like, yeah, good, get this son of a
when
bitch. But I
when
didn't really care.
when
I mean, I actually felt
Will
bad
actually,
when he
when
was
Will got cut
when
up
he was on fire.
when Will got cut up by Hannibal Lecter, which is something that wasn't shown here. That reporter supposedly came into his hospital and shot.
The first time, yes, yes, he took pictures of it. Yes, I heard that, but we didn't see it. It was a story we heard after he threw him onto a car and busted someone's windshield.
Which is something that doesn't happen in the Red Dragon movie. He just shoves him up against the car,
Well,
and that's
good
that.
because it was a stupid scene that wasn't needed. What does he need to break someone's property for?
But those are some of the differences.
Just falls off and body slams him into a windshield out of nowhere and walks away. It was just weird.
And I guess the biggest difference is they don't burn him in the Red Dragon. A dude actually glues his skin to to a chair.
Yeah, I think the fire was better. Other
Yeah,
than
I
that,
think
the
the
Red
fire
Dragon
was
sounds like
better. I
a
think
much
the
better
fire was
movie.
better. But
Other than that, I think the movie sounds much better.
so basically, what happens is an officer actually finds a letter from the Tooth Fairy, or who they think is the Tooth Fairy in his possession
In a
in
book.
the South.
It was made out of toilet paper.
Yep, it was on toilet paper, and so I believe it's Chilton who actually calls for Will at the time, and Chilton in here does not act like he's an asshole.
Yeah, he's not
In fact,
memorable. He's not memorable at all. I just
no,
remember he was mentioned.
Sorry for disappearing. He had some technical issues.
I didn't notice. Welcome back.
Thanks.
Sorry.
but yeah, so at this point in time, I was just saying that there was a letter that was found on some toilet paper. Some of it was ripped away from the message that was supposedly written by the Tooth Fairy, and they basically brought it to their experts and said they could pretty much figure out, you know, and they specifically said, and this is in both adaptations, that okay, they thought that they were clever, but I'm just as, you know, they're a tech dude, so they
I
ended
like
up,
that line.
yeah, that is a good line, and it's used in both. So I like that. But that being said, they can figure out most of what is said. They find out that okay, that he's going to correspond with him in like the tabloids, and that's when Will suggests, how about the personal ads? And so they go to like the National Enquirer, go to the personal ads, and they find the correspondence, and they there are some biblical references, but when they look up the biblical references, it's not within the message. It's not a message that, you know, that had anything to do with the message themselves. There was actually a book that was mentioned, that was in the ripped out section, and they didn't exactly find
Did they
that.
ever say what the book was? Because it said it wasn't the Bible. Like, it made it look like.
Yeah, they so that's one thing that I think that Will went to the library for.
Oh.
And I think he found the book in which they were looking for, which had that picture of the dragon that was supposedly like the seven-headed dragon or whatever. But yeah. So it's at this point that, you know, there's a transition going on with the killer. In fact, that's one thing in the second meeting that he has with Lecter, that he is changing. He is going through a metamorphosis of sorts. You know, he is becoming something else. Is kind of the whole focus and main point. Now, there is something that happens with the reporter, which is shortly after this whole message finding out. It's Will who actually is told that he should actually have an interview with the reporter, and so he does. And
Of course, the reporter, which turns around and bites him in the ass, insists on taking a picture with him. And yeah, that really bit him in the ass.
yeah, it certainly did. And I guess
that, if you ask me, that really burns him.
But yeah,
I
so,
guess instead of writing the story, he fired him.
right? Okay, you're having
Yeah.
your jokes at his expense. Do you think that reporter deserved to die, though?
No.
What about you, Boris? Do you think that reporter deserved that death?
Well, no, I don't quite think he deserved it, but
And this is
yeah,
Boris, guys. One thinks everyone should die because they're mean.
What about you, Tammy? Did you think that that reporter deserved to die?
No, I don't think he deserved to die. I think he should have just sent. I don't. I think he should have kept him blindfolded, said whatever he had to say, and sent him
Oh, of
back.
course he was gonna
You know,
kill him.
I don't think he should have killed him. I think he should have just made like an example maybe out of him or whatever. But not killed
Oh,
him.
oh,
oh, okay,
actually,
my
yeah,
opinion is I don't think he deserved to die. But as far as the movie goes, I expected him to kill him, and the way he killed him was pretty fucking cool. But
it,
that's from
it,
trying to enjoy the movie perspective.
it,
From the character's perspective, I don't think he deserved to die, but you
but
knew it
it
was gonna
was a
happen.
good cooldown.
Yeah, it was a good spit out.
Now, on the other hand, our tooth fairy killer, he was finding himself in a relationship with that blind girl, and I believe that she actually didn't seem to mind his presence. Didn't she kind of have a dick of an ex-boyfriend who seemed to want to uh, continue to bother her?
I'm sorry, what?
Didn't the blind girl have a boyfriend that kept showing up?
Oh, I didn't know.
Okay.
Everyone has seen the movie 3 times.
Yeah. I think that she had a boyfriend that she was trying to not be involved with anymore, and she mentioned that to him, and when he saw that she was actually talking to that boyfriend, he got red with rage, which is why he uh, told her that um, he was no longer who she thought he was. But they did have a moment where he was actually watching like one of those home movies with her. And she asked a little bit about it. They had a little romantic moment, and then I guess she was making out with him. And
Oh, they had sex. But yeah, she definitely. I think he wanted to make her a victim. That's why he invited her back. And well, I don't know. I think he did like her, but I still think he was. But because he brought her to that tiger, which was a weird scene. But um, you know, that's why he was. I don't know. He was watching the people, and she's like, with her, like, what are you watching? And then when she slept with him, it kind of gave him a little bit of what he wanted. He wanted to be wanted, and she wanted him, but I guess I don't know. I guess he was jealous of the other guy, and that's why he killed him, and then decided to go after her because you know she wasn't faithful to just him. It was my guess because
yep.
it was a lot of it was confusing, very confusing. In my opinion.
Yeah, when the Inagata Vita music started, you knew that he was going to try to kill her. But that's
Oh,
about
I knew he was gonna try. As soon as he showed up there after killing the guy, and he's like, "It's me," and she's like, "What's his name?" No, he's gone forever. And I was like, "Yeah, she's next." And then of course afterwards, I'm like, oh, they're gonna save her, just like they did in Clan of the Land. They saved the other girl, you know. So I knew they were gonna save her. But
But
I
yeah,
felt, I don't know. It's not like the other victims had much of a chance even with their eyesight, but I just felt more bad for her being blind. I don't know. That's just my thoughts on it. I was just like, wow, like I just felt really bad for her, and she generally
Yeah.
liked him too.
well, and when Will showed up, he like immediately like gunned his gun into him, and he was basically down for the count, and then he blasted, and this was slow motion blasting. This was a product of
Yeah, what happened to the fucking SWAT team they said they were sending in?
it.
Instead of the
All I
SWAT team,
saw was like
they
two
send
fucking
these
cops,
moron
and
local yokel cops that not even wearing fucking bulletproof vests in to get fucking shot.
yeah,
Stupidity. Again,
he didn't
showing
have
how
that.
stupid cops are. The guy even said, "Don't go in. It's SWAT team's job." And you know, we knew he was going to go in anyways. But
Yeah, he,
you
he,
know,
he said wait for
like, and then
backup.
all of a sudden, there's these regular yokel cops that is not SWAT going in and getting shot.
He didn't do things by protocol, that's for sure.
None of them did. Those other three cops that got shot and killed didn't either. The one that got blown down the stairs, that was, I mean, the scene wasn't the best. It was definitely B movie quality, but it was kind of a cool scene. It was
Well,
better scene than most.
I've seen mainstream movies show similar scenes, so
I've seen B movies do better. So, yeah, I'm not saying it's the worst. I'm not saying it's best. I said it was kind of cool, but it was definitely cheesy the way they definitely didn't do it with any kind of, I don't know, it just didn't have that feel that it was realistic at all. But, you know, him flying down the stairs was kind of cool.
so Tammy, what did you think about that end scene when Will showed up and everything like that? That whole scenario with the Tooth Fairy killer, and what did you think about the Tooth Fairy killer himself, Tammy?
What about the killer? What do you mean? What did I think about the killer?
What did you think about him in general, and what happened to him?
Let's see.
Anticlimactic.
I don't know what to say about what I thought about him. I mean, he was a serial killer. What do you want me to say if I thought about him? You know?
Well, do you think that he was a serial killer that you will remember in future days to come?
Who?
A serial killer that I what?
Will remember in future days to come.
Will you remember him like Buffalo Bill?
Nah,
Will you remember him like Jack the Ripper?
Fuck no.
probably not as much. No.
Jack the Ripper. Most famous fucking serial killer of all.
I mean, what he did to the reporter when he killed him was kind of memorable. Yes, that was very unique and memorable.
What the fuck was on his head?
But
Oh, that was basically what ladies wear on their legs.
I thought that was an
No,
eyeliner.
no, on his head, not on his face, on his head.
I thought that was the upper part of an nylon.
No. The head. It was like some kind of weird fucking, like a kid's toy or something. Like one of those fucking things he put in the crib, but broken.
Sorry, I'm not sure what you're referring to.
Me neither. I was.
Was it a
thinking about
glitch in the
nylon
fucking
thing.
version I watched? Because he had some weird fucking thing on his head, like some kind of weird, super weird hat, like
In
something the Joker would wear or something, or I
in
don't know.
what scene?
That scene where he's fucking torturing the reporter, or he's talking to the
Oh,
reporter, whatever.
oh.
All I remembered seeing was like that nylon thing on his head.
He
Yeah,
had
that
the
was
nylon thing and some weird thing on his head, weird hat like thing.
I mean,
it was just the nylon.
he was
This is
somewhat
fucked up.
he was somewhat of his what he did at the scenes, is it was something different than other serial killer, of course, did, and by the idea that he killed whole families, and the things that he did at the scene afterwards was different. So, in that sense, yeah, in a way, you'd be remembered, you know. So,
Okay. What did you think about the ending with Will coming in, getting shot, and the whole fact that he didn't go in without backup? Do you think he should have gone in with backup?
well, yeah, but it would. That's usually what happens. They go in without backup. Okay, it's that
Yeah,
was
they never
nothing.
follow the rules in movies.
Right. So,
Well, Clarice didn't even have backup at all, like even coming.
Yeah, they didn't even know that she was even there at that
Yeah, he
house.
figured it out afterwards, but
I think the only reason he went is he was trying to save, you know.
I mean, I know she won the day, but technically she shouldn't have. She should have been like gotten some kind of punishment for fucking doing that as well.
I think that's kind of what happened, anyways.
Well, they don't show it. They only give her she becomes an FBI agent and everything, but they don't show her actually getting.
Well, not in the movie, but in the TV show Claire, they
Well,
show
how the fuck would I know? I don't watch no TV shows.
it. They show a bit of what happened, but in any case, so and then of course there is the scene that you both asked, which I think was it Boris, you who were confused about the ending, or was it you, Kroll, that was
Uh,
confused about the ending?
Actually, Kroll asked that one.
Okay,
What? What did I ask?
you asked why
Why
Will
Will was
did
visiting.
that family at the end.
Yeah, because it didn't make any fucking sense.
Well, and Tammy and I talked about that, and we both think that he showed up there because he found out that that couple was the next victim that supposedly was in the line of the Tooth Fairy's sights.
Didn't they say that guy was 32?
Huh?
Did they say that guy was 32?
Yeah, I think so too.
Because on this Hannibal site, it says the character was 42. I'm like, I thought they said 32. I'm
I
trying
think
to see what the fuck he was wearing. I can't be fucking crazy. I mean, I could be, but I didn't think I was.
so. But I think at this point in time, we are now at the end of the film. So unless anybody wanted to say anything about the end of that really quick. Okay, let's go into production. Boris, what
Oh
did
wait,
you
they're
think
talking about the Red Dragon version.
about? What did you think about
Assholes.
production?
I didn't say Red Dragon.
Well, I would say the production was decent. Well, as far as the movie needed, I mean, okay, maybe except the part when Will jumped through that glass. He should have been all covered in cuts after doing that. If that happened in real life, which we didn't see happen, so that was a bit unrealistic. But okay, as far as effects and stuff go, I think it was as good as it should have been. I do kind of like that biblical painting they did of the dragon and the woman. Although, like I said, my big issue with that is that the dragon didn't have 7 heads, which it really should have had if they were going for this image from the Book of Revelation. But aside from that, everything I guess is okay about the production.
Okay. What about you, Tammy? What did you think about the production?
I thought it was all right. You know, there were some things that could have been probably done a little bit better, but they probably didn't have that great of a budget. You know, so. But other than that, I thought it was decent.
Okay, what about you, Crow?
And I already say that. I thought it was, typical be like quality 80s movie. I mean, it's slightly better than some B movies, but there was some scenes that were okay. I mean, the fire scene was cool, but other than that, yeah, there was a lot of shardy camera work. I was saying I could do better because I couldn't, but just saying from a point of view of movies.
Okay. And for the first installment of the Thomas Harris developed into film movies, I think this film is okay. I don't think it's superior to either Silence of the Lambs or even further the Red Dragon readaptation of this. I do think I like William Peterson in the role of Ram better than I like Edward Norton. But
Edward Norton was in the movie.
yeah, he played Will Graham character in Red Dragon.
Oh, okay.
But
Well, he's definitely a better actor.
I like Edward Norton in other movies, and maybe I like him somewhat in Red Dragon, but not all the way. That being said, the production of this, I did think that the jail scene of Hannibal Lecter, I liked that scene better than, in Silence of the Lambs. There's something about when he had to give him the files. I looked at the no glass, just bars jail, and was like, couldn't he have just slipped him the fucking file?
That's what I was thinking.
Bars?
That's exactly what I was thinking.
I mean, Tammy
Yeah.
was thinking the same thing, except she said it aloud when we were watching it.
I said it out loud.
Yeah,
No one
you
heard
can
me.
definitely, instead of opening up that little door thing to give it to him, you could have slipped it in between the bars there. You know?
Under the bars.
Here it is.
The way that the camera
I'm
was
not
showing it,
fucking
everything
crazy,
looked
you
like there
fucking
was room under
jackasses.
the bars.
He is something wearing something weird on his head.
There, I only saw the nylon.
I'm gonna send you jackass the picture. All three of you people made me think I was crazy. Vindication. I may be crazy, but not because of this.
All right. You sending it now?
I'm putting it in the chat now, yes. Give me a second. I have hundreds of friends.
Because I was looking for pictures of something more than just the nylon, and I didn't see jack shit.
Well, I did. I put in Tooth Fairy Manhunter pictures, and that's when I got it.
Yeah, that's nylon.
But look on top of his head, the thing.
Yeah,
thing
that's
on
just
top
a little. That's just the. That's just the end of the nylon that didn't go around his head.
There's like 6 things.
There's nothing on top of his head except for the nylon.
You don't see that.
That is on the ceiling.
Well, it looks like it's on his fucking head.
No, it's not. It looks like
It
the
looks
Death
like it's on his
Star
head.
needle. It almost looks like the Death Star needle thing that went into Princess Leia.
Not even close.
Well, that wasn't on his head, dude. That
It looks
was
like it's on his
above
head.
his head and on
It
the
looks
ceiling.
like it's on his head.
Then you got to get eyeglasses.
I have eyeglasses.
When
Yeah,
the
you need to
camera
wear 'em.
first pans, when the camera first
Well-
pans to it, it looks like it's on his head. But as soon as he moves, you realize it's something hanging from the ceiling.
Well,
It looks
I
like
just
something
must
that
have
would
missed
be
that
above a
second
baby's
part.
crib.
I must have missed that second part because, yeah. So again, really shitty camera work then.
I thought, honestly, when we just watched it last night, I thought the same thing because I've seen this before. But I was like, when it first went to the street, at first I was like, what the hell is that? And then as soon as he moved, I realized that wasn't part of him. It was
No,
in the
I
ceiling.
missed the part where I must have blinked away and missed it or something.
Yeah. If for a moment it does look like it's on him, but it's not. It's part of the ceiling.
Okay, well, and as far as
I told
music,
you I wasn't crazy.
as far as music goes, it's definitely got some '80s music.
Oh yeah,
Got a weird fucking song too. A couple of them.
I caught some of them with Shazam. Going to look them up later.
In the God of the Giga, baby.
You know, I have some strange and obscure music in my collection.
Oh, so you actually like the music?
I like
Ooh,
most music too. Except
I
for
was
the
telling David
first
every
two.
time I hear that song though and I got to beat, I think of that Home Improvement episode. I don't know if you
Of
guys
what?
ever watched the show Home Improvement with Tim
Oh,
Allen.
that's why people were mentioning Home Improvement. I never saw that episode.
Oh, okay. Well, then you wouldn't get it, so forget it.
I've
So
seen
the music,
Yeah,
the soundtrack has Seun by Guitaro, which I actually know Guitaro. They're legendary in instrumental music. Klaus Schultz performed Freeze. Shriekback performed Evaporation, as well as Colacanth. And The Big Hush. Strong as I Am was performed by the Prime Movers. Inagata Dabita by Iron Butterfly. And of course, Heartbeat was performed by Red 7. And I know I've heard Heartbeat in other movies. So, but what did y'all think about the music? Anything else?
ooh, well, like I said, it seemed decent. I did notice a few songs playing in the background, and was planning to look them up later, which I'm still going to do. But yeah, it was fine.
Well, one of the quotes that I like from this movie is, "I know I'm not smarter than you. Then how did you catch me? You had disadvantages. What disadvantages? You're insane." So, going into favorite scenes and or favorite characters. Starting with you, Boris. What was a favorite scene and or favorite character in this particular movie?
Well, favorite character probably Will, although I do kind of wish we got more psychological characterization, both of him and the killer. Like, we did hear something about Will having some traumas, but we didn't really get proper insight into it. Neither did we get to know about the killer, how he became the way he was and why. But still, I guess Will is pretty much the only character you can somewhat sympathize with or find interesting. And the favorite scenes, well, the final fight was good, although the reporter's death was also a good spoodaw, and you know I always like spoodaws in movies. Oh, and another thing I do kind of like the scene when he was at the grocery store with the kid and he was telling him all that about the killing and stuff. I do actually kind of like that he found a way to educate the kid about the reality of all that instead of trying to keep him in the dark and trying to keep him not knowing that any of that even exists, which people nowadays think is a good thing to do, which I do not. But okay, that's maybe a discussion for another time. But yeah, I wanted to mention
Well,
that was something I actually found cool.
with your children, you want to protect them from the world as much as you can. The less they know about certain situations, sometimes the better. But I also think that it is also good that your kids know about the evils and and know about the things that are bad.
Yeah, because what you don't know could kill you.
Correct, because if you protect them and try to protect them from all the evils of the world, then when bad shit happens to them, what the fuck are they gonna do? You know, I
They
mean,
need to be prepared.
yeah, exactly. You need to prepare them for the world. You can't protect your children. They've got to go through their own mistakes.
Yeah.
Which is maybe something that you think of for everyone, and everything that happens to people. Sometimes there are situations that your friends may go through, and they may ask you for help. Well, their parents might be trying to teach them a lesson. And sometimes that lesson doesn't really get learned if they don't go through it. So, but
Sometimes parents just suck and they try to give a lesson, but they shouldn't.
Sometimes that can happen too.
I believe sometimes tough love
And
is
I
something.
am talking about my mother and father.
I
The
think,
one time they agree in fucking 20 something years, it was against me, fuckers.
but heading over to you, Tammy. If you could take a favorite character and or favorite scene from this movie, what would it be?
I guess Will is my favorite character. Um, favorite scene is I like it when the security guard's sitting there and he's hearing something. He's looking around. He's like, "What is going on?" And all of a sudden, you see that wheelchair coming up in flames like that. He freaks. I mean, he hears something and knows something's coming, but you know, and then all, and then it happens. It's like I like that scene.
Okay. What about you, Kroll Lector?
Yeah,
Favorite?
I mean, I agree. I knew something was going to happen. I was not expecting that noise was a chair with the reporter fucking flying down on fire. So when he finally you see that. I mean, you only see that scene for like a second. It was probably just too expensive to do it longer, but that would have definitely been a cool scene to see a little bit longer. Because that was definitely my favorite scene. And really enjoyed the scene where, even though I think it was out of character, but in a way, I mean, he showed his intelligence, but I just think it was out of character for him to what he did with the address. When Hannibal Lecter got the address, how he manipulated the phone to call the operator called for him, and then manipulated them into telling him the address of him. Because I'm like, I thought he was just gonna get the phone number, because he'd asked for the phone number and he said no, but we went and got the address. I'm like, why? And then we find out, and I'm like, wow, that doesn't really seem like Hamill's character, but that scene itself I enjoyed. Um, yeah, at the end scene, I usually love end scenes, but it was too crappy camera work to enjoy it too much. So, and as far as favorite characters, I didn't have one. Nobody stood out enough for me to care that much about it. I mean, I wanted to root for the FBI guy, but like I said, I didn't really put much emotion behind that. You know, I might have been a little bit like, oh, damn, he got killed if he got killed, but that's about it. I thought
Okay.
maybe when they kept coming in the movie, like he was going to become the next serial killer, because he had to get in the head of Hannibal the first time, and then maybe he got into the head of this guy, and like it made him snap, and he becomes the next serial killer. Like that would have been interesting. Like they show him like stalking a family or whatever, and then it ends like that, and then like the next like another movie would have been that, but they didn't do that. I mean, I don't know if the book is like that at all, but I just it kind of felt like that's where it could have been leading to. I mean, I don't know if any of you guys got that same impression, but that's what I felt like. Like it was leading to that. Like I never thought for a second Clarice would be like that, but this guy I did. He just I don't know, just seemed like he could have snapped and turned.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my opinions.
Well, I myself, I I think I like like Will Peterson's character as Will in this role better than I like the Hannibal Lecter here. I know some people tend to like Brian Cox in the role, but I differ. I actually think that Anthony Hopkins was made for the role.
Exactly. I mean, in that scene with the phone, he did okay, and when he was talking on the phone to Will, it was okay. The first scene, I wasn't really a big fan. So yeah, he was okay, but he wasn't memorable like fucking Hannibal Lecter was. I mean, like Anthony Hopkins was. Just you know.
And as far as favorite scenes go, I do like the adult talk that he has with his kid, Graham. I'm glad that he was able to have the serious talk with him. I mean, he was rather young to hear some of the words that he was telling him, but
I thought so too.
I do think that he did need to be told like what the hell was going on with it.
And I did think it was kind of fucked up that the kid asked how he killed them, and I'm glad he didn't answer that one, except for horrible ways. But that was definitely something fucked up for a 10 or 11-year-old to ask.
It was, but how do you as a parent like?
No, I'm saying as the kid, that's a fucked up thing to ask. I mean, I know kids can ask some messed up things, but mostly kids aren't going to ask about how someone's murdered, unless they got some psychological issues themselves.
But
That's my thought.
as far as favorite scenes go, I do like the burning reporter chair dude.
Hell on wheels.
Yeah. And not the TV show. But
TV show?
Yeah, there's a TV show called Hell on Wheels that is basically based on like Tombstone. That is pretty darn good. It was on AMC for about 5 seasons. It was cool.
You mean AMC had good movies before, good shows before Walking Dead?
But
I was being serious.
This was during Walking Dead was still going on, I believe.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. It was one of the shows. I got Tammy into it when it was on its 3rd season because there's a moment where the dude actually comes into town with the fur of a wolf, and he walks into the store and he throws the fur on the table in front of the proprietor and says, "Burn it, shoot it first, then kill it." And the fact that it started with wolves, I had to involve Tammy in it because I actually think she would have liked the main dude, and she did. So, but it was involving like the building of the train system into like the first like Western town. And it involved like the whole Tombstone atmosphere and what happened eventually with the Dead Man's Hand. Also, another show that that was good about.
So was the main character Wyatt Earp?
Huh?
Was the main character Wyatt Earp?
Yeah, there was eventually what happened to Wyatt Earp happened eventually in the show too. So. But it was pretty cool. I mean, it did something with westerns that I think was different.
I did enjoy Westworld.
But in any case,
have you seen that?
Other than that, Tom Noonan when he was having her making love to him, the fact that he was lying down and he was gasping. Like, it was like a virgin having his first woman, be interested in him, So to me, that was kind of like an interesting moment in that killer's life. But other than that, those were some of my favorites. And did anyone else have anything else to add? Alrighty. Well, hopefully y'all as an audience have enjoyed our discussion. Let us know down in the comments what you thought of the film and what you thought of our discussion. And we'll definitely be seeing you next week. I believe next week we have Is it your turn?
What?
Wasn't it Boris's turn now?
Yeah.
So, Boris, have you thought about what you want to talk about next week?
I think he ran away.
Boris, are you still here?
You notice he took his camera off.
Yeah, I see that. In any case, I guess we'll know.
Well, you
later.
know he hasn't decided yet anyway, so.
No, he's definitely not decided either. So I guess we'll have to let you know when it happens. So like, share, and subscribe.
Hopefully we'll find out before next Friday.
Yeah, hopefully, because sometimes it takes a while. But in any case,
it says that we put ideas in his head for movies to watch. Well, he doesn't damn decide, and then sometimes he's like, he asks us like, "What do you think between this and this?" Well, you gotta ask. I mean, we'll tell you something.
and to be honest, eventually, because he's got movies that he wants to eventually discuss, doesn't mean that they're always the best choices, but.
Oh yeah, I told him before when he's asked about them, I'm like, dude, it's your choice. I mean, will I want you to pick that? No, but it's your choice. So I'm not saying don't pick that. Do I want to watch a subtitled friggin' Japanese, Chinese movie, whatever? No, I don't like subtitles.
I will watch a movie as long as it has proper subtitles in it. At least something that I can actually.
I was so fucking annoyed because I watched this on Solo Movies and there was no spot to shut off the caption, so I had to keep seeing the words popping up in my face. And I don't like that.
But
because I was reading the screen. Because when words pop up in my face, I should read them.
Hopefully, y'all out there enjoy this discussion, and so everyone say good night.
Good night, Gracie.
Good night.
Good night, John boy.